I'm an icon in many different ways. Not being the biggest, the fastest, the strongest, I was going to have to work a little bit harder. Those 7 years gave me enough time to fully heal the right way. I didn't have anything work-wise going on. I needed a goal. So I said to myself, why don't I try to come back to wrestling? I've always felt like I need to prove myself.
Was that the reason you left WWE?
Yes. Nothing's going to change unless I change it myself.
You're doing the best work of your career right now.
I feel like it.
How is there not an offer from WWE?
A friend of mine said you should have a conversation with Tony Khan. And I was like,
How much were you able to sway Adam to AEW?
I didn't have to sway him at all.
And now you get to hang out with your best friend, former best friend.
Yeah.
Is it just a closet full of turtlenecks? Is that what it looks like?
Well, I mean, I've managed to bring the turtleneck back into fashion, and nobody wears it the way that I wear it, obviously. But you can see my influence. You're starting to see it sprinkled out throughout not just wrestling, but also in pop culture. People starting to pull out the turtleneck. You know,
A fashion icon.
I'm an icon in many different ways.
It's true. I like that you've gone with the turtleneck with the sleeveless look. That is something.
It's commitment.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
So I had Adam Copeland on recently, and he was taking a lot of credit for Pure Plank.
Mm-hmm.
What's your role in Pure Plank?
Well, the Pure Plank was actually my original idea, and it was developed. Like many people, they had a lot of dark periods, especially through the pandemic, and that's really when this was created for me. And it basically was there was a lot of steps to get to it, and I guess I'll just kind of take it back a little bit. Was during the pandemic. I was, in my post-wrestling life, being told that I had to retire.
Had you accepted retirement at that point, by the way?
I accepted it only for the fact that I had a young child. And because it was concussion-related injuries, I didn't question it. My only thought was I wanted to be able to have a conversation with my daughter when she turned 13 years old. And so I took it at face value. I didn't explore it any further. And realizing later on that, I could come back. But that was the reasoning. And plus, I managed to stay busy outside of wrestling. I was doing other things, managing to stay busy. I was doing a show on Fox at the time, backstage.
Yeah.
I was doing the pay-per-view pre-show panels. I was doing a number of other things outside of wrestling. And then when the pandemic hit, much like everybody else, everything that I had that I was working on went away. Mm-hmm. It all went away. And so I found myself, it was in a tough time in my life. I had just gone through a divorce, and feeling pretty low after that. I'm a pretty private person, so I haven't talked about this much in public, but I think it's an important part of this story for Pure Plank. And I was going through a very dark period as far as that goes. Like I said, my work had gone away. My marriage had dissolved, and now on weeks where I didn't have my daughter, I was literally alone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it was a very, very lonely existence. I found, and I just, found myself trying to do things to keep busy, going on. I called my old man walks at night. I would just put my headphones on and just go outside and go for a walk, just because I had nobody to talk to, nobody to see, anything. And I gotten into a little bit of it was probably a little bit of depression, I'm sure, feeling low and down on myself and just feeling sorry for myself. And I started making unhealthy choices, and a lot of that was with food choices. I was eating not great. I would sit down on the couch at night, and what's better than half a box of Cheez-Its sitting on the couch?
I'll tell you what's better than half a box, a full box.
Right. And that's pretty much what happened on a nightly basis at my house. And, maybe drinking a little bit too much and other things like that. Like I said, I wasn't making healthy choices. And my body was feeling it. And one day I happened to walk past a mirror without a shirt on, and I did not like what I saw.
Especially in a career where, you're without your shirt for, your whole career.
Right. And I was I was in the house by myself, and I was ashamed. I was like, you know what? I think maybe, I looked myself in the mirror and I said, you're self-sabotaging is what you're doing. You're not allowing yourself to be happy because you feel like, especially with, the marriage, failing, and there were parts, you run all that stuff back in your head multiple times of what happened and things like that. So you, Yeah, I was not allowing myself to be happy in any form of my life. I was just feeling sorry for myself because of all these things that were snowballing. And so I looked myself in the mirror and I said, this isn't you. Start making better choices. Be there. If you can't do anything else, be there for your daughter. And that's what I wanted to do. So I immediately turned it around. The next day I said, I'm starting tomorrow. I had called a friend of mine, a guy named Chris Cavallini, who owns a nutrition company called Nutrition Solutions in Tampa. And he had been working with Adam previously. So I had known of him, but I didn't talk. I'd never met him at the time. So I went on and I joined up Nutrition Solutions, and Adam had told him, so he had called me. And we were talking, and I remember I was driving somewhere, and he asked me what kind of shape, and I was like, well, let me put it to you like this. I was like, I said, if I was at a dad bod pool party, I'd probably be like top 5 dad bods, So I wasn't, I felt like I could pull it back if I dedicated myself in a pretty relatively short amount of time. So, so he's like, okay. So he starts talking, and then he says like, well, when you sign up, the delivery started the next week. So I started telling him, I said, oh yeah, when I start next week. He goes, oh no, you're starting today. He goes, I'm gonna have meals at your door by the time you get home. So this is where my head was at the time. So I look over to my left and I see a Five Guys.
Oh.
So I was like, this is the swan song. I pull in, got a double cheeseburger, a bag of fries, sat there and indulged right there in the parking lot, and that was it. After that, it was get to work. And I put all the dedication that I had into changing my life around and trying to make better choices and to get my happiness back was the main thing. Try to get somewhere happy in my life again after feeling so down. And so I piecemealed together a tiny gym in my garage, and I started thinking to myself, like I didn't have anything work-wise going on. I needed something. I needed a goal. I needed something to try to attain. So I said to myself, why don't I try to come back to wrestling?
Wow.
Very few people knew that I was going to attempt it. So that's when I decided to piecemeal, like I said, a little gym in my garage, since all the gyms were closed at the time. And I just started finding, like, I ordered some stuff on Amazon. I went to Play It Again Sports. I was just, because, it was so hard to find things for home gyms and stuff at the time. So I literally had this little tiny gym in my garage, and I would just go out there, and in the spring and summer in Florida, you're in the garage in 100+ degree heat.
Yeah.
And it also became a battle against myself. And every day that challenge was, I could beat this heat and get this workout done. And from that, I remembered Adam and I discussing planking before, and I was like, it's a ridiculous exercise. It looks silly to me. I don't think it does anything. And he's like, no, you should try it, whatever. So, again, with the small amount of equipment I had, I decided, well, let me try this planking, see what happens. So I dropped down, I started planking. I couldn't even hold a plank for 30 seconds.
Wow.
And I'm like, I'm supposed to be an athlete and I can't even hold a plank. Again, another embarrassing moment where I was by myself, and I became at that moment obsessed with planking. And I did it. I started doing it, holding it for 30 seconds. Then, I do 2 sets of 30 seconds and 3 sets of 30 seconds. Then I'd hold it for 45 seconds, add sets onto that. Next thing you know, I'm holding a plank for 4-5 minutes at a time. This is down the road, obviously, and also with changing my nutrition and my mind frame and my mindset and those sorts of things. And I just saw my body starting to change at the time at 47 years old. Like, I had chiseled abs, and I'd never had abs like that before in my life. And at that point, and also, like, other parts of my body felt better from planking. It's a whole body engagement as far as the exercise go. And to me, my personal opinion is it's the perfect exercise, I think. Every muscle in your body is basically engaged when you're doing it and doing it right. And, I remember being out in that hot garage, and a lot of times when I was on a mat or something, my arms would start to slide away, and then I'd lose the position. And it would take something away from it when I had to reset.
Yeah.
So I remember thinking, man, if there's something that I could hold on to keep from slipping when you're you're sweaty and those sorts of things. So when I happened to meet the group that I'm working with now, and we started fast forward getting back into wrestling, and the opportunity came to work with the group that we're working with now in Pure Plank, and I basically had told them my idea about having handles and having a board with better padding, like getting down on the floor and like, especially with being a wrestler, with having, divots out of your elbow and any point in time your shoulders could be sore or whatever. It was just a way to and also like a very great thing that kind of came up out of this that we didn't even realize. For me, the handles were to just hold you in position and make sure you were in the proper position at all times. Was that we found that if you grip, the harder you grip the handles while you're planking, it actually intensifies the workout, which is crazy.
It's an intense workout. You guys sent me one, and I've been using it since I got it. It's crazy. By the way, you guys also set us up with a coupon code CVV. If anybody listening or watching wants to grab a Pure Plank, they've been selling like crazy. Yeah, I mean it's well, that was the goal, was to put something out that will help people, and after everything that I went through and I kind of came through on the other side and like getting my career back, and I give a lot of that to planking and changing my mindset and my body and putting me in the right space. And again, when I think about it now, where I was, I refuse to ever go back to that again. I won't let myself get back to that again. I refuse to be anything less than the best version of myself ever again. And that's what I wanted to create, is a tool to help people find the best version of themselves. And here you are now at 50 years old in the best shape of your life. Yep. It's pretty impressive. Yeah, it's crazy. It's it's also just it's commitment and being consistent. Consistency is the key. And if I can give anybody any advice, stay consistent. The shirt that you wear, Outwork Everyone, it's not just a catchphrase. Like it's how you live your life too. Yeah. Well, I've always felt like I've always had a bit of a chip on my shoulder. I've always felt like, not being the biggest, the fastest, the strongest. I always felt like I was going to have to work a little bit harder. And I used to have a saying, every time I went into an arena, I would get out of a car, whether it was a live event, a pay-per-view or a TV. I step out of the car, and in my head, I would say to myself, today they're going to know how good you are. Wow. And, and that was just something to motivate myself, because like I said, I always felt like I was fighting from underneath, so to speak. And that was just my mindset, that I was going to just keep fighting. It's interesting when you're in a tag team, because fans will gravitate to one person or the other, right? You're either an Edge person or you're a Christian person. You're a Jeff person or you're a Matt Hardy person. And it's just funny how, like, I don't know, I always don't tell Adam this, but I was always a Christian guy. I don't blame you, to be honest. And it's just funny how, like, he's either living in your shadow if fans like you more than him, or vice versa. How do you win fans over that might not be a Christian person? How do you convert them into being fans? You just got to keep going out there and doing your thing, putting in hard work and grinding. That's what I've done my whole career. If people appreciate it, they do. If they don't, they don't. And that's where I'm at this stage of my career. If people don't like me, I don't really care. Stop paying for subscriptions that you don't use, or worse, that you forgot you signed up for. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so that you can grow your savings. Rocket Money emailed me recently and said, would it be okay if we negotiated a lower cell phone bill for you? And I was like, sure, have at it. A few days later, they were like, well, we just saved you $10 a month moving forward. Thank you. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's features. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel those unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/CVV, or have them negotiate one of your bills so that it's lower. That blew my mind when they did that. rocketmoney.com/CVV. That's rocketmoney.com/CVV. There is no reason you would ever need to remember this, but this isn't the first time we've met. This is 2001. Oh, I've seen this. I posted this. First of all, what was going on with that jacket choice? What a jacket. What is that made of? I don't even know. I feel like if you came too close to a flame, you would just burst. Yeah, it also looks like it's 7 sizes too big for me. So I waited this is February 1st, 2001. That is crazy. In Toronto, at Palladium in Toronto, when that still existed. I waited in line for 6 hours. And the thing was, it was you, Kurt Angle, and Trish Stratus. I don't know if you remember that event. I vaguely remember it. There's some, but it's like,
Man, that's really crazy.
Do you remember signing these?
That's my really old signature, like one of my first signatures when I was in WWE. So
the funny thing is, and Jim Ross signed this thing on the back.
Nice.
I didn't even meet Jim Ross. Someone gave that to me, but this was an event, like it was just like the XFL launch party. You guys were doing like a private signing, like a VIP thing, and like someone snuck us in. We weren't even going to get to meet you guys.
That's crazy.
So here we are now, 23 years later.
Yeah. And, you're obviously very successful as well with what you're doing. And, we talked a little bit before we started this, and, it sounds very similar to when you're trying to make it in wrestling, like traveling these roads and, doing your show in smaller places and trying to build up a name and a following. So, congratulations to you on everything you've accomplished.
Thank you. And there's something about like two Canadians sitting down and being able to go, look at us now.
We're the best at what we do.
Damn right. You really are. You're doing the best work of your career right now.
I appreciate it.
Do you feel like it?
I feel like it 100%.
What is it about this stage of your career you're in right now?
Well, I didn't want to leave. So like I said, when I got my career back after being retired for 7 years, it was a gift to get it back. But it wasn't just enough to get it back for me. And okay, I got it back. That's great. Now it's like, how far can we push it? How far can we go with it? I had 7 years of lost time to make up for. I didn't feel like I'd accomplished everything that I'd accomplished. Was I content with what I had accomplished? Yes. But did I feel like that I'd accomplished everything that I could accomplish? Not even close. So the goal was even to prove at an advanced age that, you can still go out there and do it if you apply yourself and you push yourself. And, it's taking chances and risks too, right? Yeah, sometimes you have to go and do things that other people are unwilling to do to stand out. And that's what I'm doing.
You've pushed the envelope a lot. Mm-hmm. And I'm happy to be sitting here right now to let you know that my father is a very healthy man and he's alive and well. And I'm very grateful for that.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you could have a stepfather.
I could, but Dirk Van Vliet is a good man.
Okay. Well, anybody named Dirk sounds like a stand-up individual.
What a name, right? Dirk Van Vliet. Are there moments with the work you've done in AEW where you feel like, I can't believe they're letting me say this?
Well, not really, because I've never told anybody what I'm going to say. I've never had it cleared with anybody. I've never asked anybody. I just go out there and do it. And you have to. It's one of those things. You like I said, you have to be willing to go places that others are unwilling to go in order to stand out, especially this day and age. And I saw an opportunity that I could jump on, and I took it and I wrote it. And sometimes things happen you're not expecting to happen. And I said one phrase and it turned into a wildfire, and I just embraced it and ran with it.
Do you think maybe you've gone too far with any of the things you've said?
I don't apologize for anything that I've said.
Poor Jungle Boy. Come on.
Well, I mean, he's he had to be brought down a notch, but now look at him. He's obviously taken some influence, and what I taught him is it took him a little bit of time to figure it out, but good on him. He's finally figured it out. I honestly haven't even talked to him since we wrestled in San Francisco, however long ago that was. I saw him once after that.
How good does it feel at this stage of your career to now be able to drop F-bombs on TV?
Yeah, I mean, it feels, that's it's kind of locker room talk, right? Like that's kind of how all locker rooms kind of, sometimes, I'll be home and I'll say something and I'll be like, I'll hear in the other room, Dad. And I'm like, oh God, okay. But it's, it's not even so much the being able to say it. It's having the freedom to express how I want this to be portrayed on television. You know what I mean? Adam and I, when he came back after Wrestle Dream, the infamous, am I allowed to swear on the show?
Of course.
The infamous go fuck yourself. When he hugged me and, the most of the time, 99.9% of the time, you'd hear to somebody say no, yes or no. I wanted to lay people's jaws on the floor with my response. Something so out of left field that they weren't going to believe that was my response to this, my childhood lifelong friend.
Yeah.
Closer than friends, brothers, you know. And I just wanted something that would just, like I said, get people talking. And it did. So.
The reaction was huge. Like, this turned into something way bigger than just that moment.
Yeah.
Was that what you expected from that?
I expected it to be big. I don't know if I expected it to be as viral as it was. Even
like, it went beyond wrestling.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it went beyond wrestling, and you're seeing, like, I was at a concert, a Tool concert, and I went in to watch sound check, and the guitarist Adam Jones, I could see him whispering to his security guy that knew that I was there. And he pointed over to me, and he's playing, getting ready for his big show. He looks at me and goes, "Go fuck yourself," from the stage. So, I mean, yeah, it resonated with people, you know. So.
I feel like, you were doing great work. The stuff with Jungle Boy, I feel like really took it to another level. Talking about his late legendary father. Then it turned into the stuff with Nick Wayne.
Right. Yeah, like I said, I don't even know how this happened. It just did. And, when, it's like when a shark senses blood in the water, you attack it. So that's what happened. When it was this, to me, I saw an opportunity and I attacked it, and, like I said, the only way to stand out to me in this day and age is to be different. And it's hard to be different when a lot of things have been done or are being done. So, and it's very much a copycat business. If something's working, you see people start to do it, and I'm seeing the influence of a lot of characters, not just on our show, but on other shows as well. So when that happens, you start saying, okay, what I'm doing is working here.
It feels like nothing's off limits. Like, your daughter's not even off limits.
Nope. That was another one where I was like, let's get some people talking here. How do we do that?
Yeah,
let's do something that nobody expects.
Kick my daughter out of the building.
Yeah, but that was like, get her out of the scene. But that wasn't enough. I had to get her thrown out of the building. So it's like just doing things that are unsavory. And like I said, unapologetic and going places nobody else is willing to go.
How do you keep pushing this forward? Like, how do you keep coming up with new stuff then?
It's weird, it's like, I don't even know. I just, like, a lot of times I'll be at the curtain and I will be like, tonight's the night I have nothing to say. And we're in commercial break, and I'm coming up on the other end. And I'll be sitting there like, I'm going to get exposed tonight. I have nothing to say. And then I go out there and I find something to say, and I just jump on it.
Where does it come from?
I don't know. It's like something happens when you step through that curtain. You can't explain it. And yeah, I don't know. I'll just look for one thing or one response from the crowd, and then I'll just kind of roll with that and go with it.
It's so good. It's amazing that you're at this stage of your career and you're somehow continuing to get better all the time.
Yeah, well, like I said, I wasn't content with just content with getting it back. And the first year and a half was kind of getting my feet wet again, kind of getting the feel for it, the lay of the land. A new upstart company, AEW, that I'm very happy and proud to be a part of. So. Kind of after that feeling out process, I was like, all right, I've kind of played nice here for a little bit. Now it's time to take over.
Walk me back to the day that you found out you weren't allowed to wrestle again.
Yeah, that was a tough one. So I had gotten a few concussions, and they were in a relatively short span of a few months.
Do you remember one specifically that was maybe really bad?
Yeah, I remember a couple that were really bad. One being in the Battle Royal, where I won the chance to wrestle Alberto Del Rio for the World Heavyweight Championship after Adam retired. I was knocked out cold in that Battle Royal that I won. And
do you remember anything from that match?
Well, I remember most of it, and then Ray. It came down to myself, Rey Mysterio, and Jack Swagger, I believe, and Ray hit me with the springboard body press, and he landed right on my head and knocked me out. I was out cold. And that was one I remember. Another one, I was wrestling Randy live on Raw, And I remember taking a shoulder tackle, just a basic shoulder tackle, and I don't know what I was thinking, but my head just kind of snapped off the mat a little bit, and it just kind of rattled me a little bit, and then you're just trying to get your bearings, and then something else happened. I got thrown out of the ring, and I hit my head again on the apron because I was still a little not with it. We were going into commercials, had the commercial to kind of try to get my bearings back, and then I remember coming back from the break, I got superplexed, and when I got superplexed, I was out cold. Wow. I don't remember the rest of the match. So those are two that I remember pretty vividly that I didn't have any recollection after of, like, I remembered up to a certain point, and then after that it was blank.
So then where does it go from there? Do you start to see doctors?
Yeah. So then after the last one that happened, I was kicked in the back of the head. I didn't lose consciousness, but I did have spins. Like, I was spinning and I couldn't stop spinning and things like that. And so they sent me to the concussion center at USF, University of South Florida in Tampa. And they suggested, at that point in time too, I'm pretty sure that I had post-concussion syndrome, and I probably should have maybe even rested before I started to do these other tests, because I think I was still, having issues, obviously. And anyway, I failed the tests, and I didn't think anything of it. They didn't tell me that I failed them at that point in time. So then I had to go to Washington, and this was right before a WrestleMania. And I think I was in some sort of multi-man match. I can't remember what it was, but I saw all the names on the board except for mine for this match. And I was like, that's weird.
Yeah.
So I went into the training room, and I was like, does anybody know why my name's not on this list? And they said, I think somebody's going to talk to you a little bit later.
Oh.
And I was like, that doesn't sound good. So yeah, I got pulled aside a little bit later, and they said they were going to medically disqualify me. So it was taken out of my hands. I had no choice in the matter. I couldn't say, okay, yeah, do you want to rest for 6 months? You're not. They said, we're medically disqualifying you. You're not allowed to do this anymore.
And in that moment, are they saying this is a permanent thing, or
they said it was permanent?
Can we reassess this in 6 months or a year?
I never was sent back to have it reassessed after any amount of time, to be honest with you. And so that's why I took it at face value, and just thought that was probably what was best for my health and all those sorts of things. So then when I got myself back in physical shape and where I wanted to be, I decided that I would go back to that same place that retired me, the USF Concussion Center, and that I wouldn't tell anybody about it, and I would just see what happened from that. So I went and I did the tests. And the doctor came in after the tests, and he said, your test scores were great. He said, you were above average or average on everything. You weren't below average on any of your test scores. And he said, what are you looking to do? And I said, I'm looking to finish my career on my own terms. And I said, if you can, if you tell me that I'm crazy, then it's fine. I'm in no different position than I was when I woke up this morning. But if you tell me that I can do this, it's opening up doors and opportunity for me.
Changes everything.
And he said, I don't think you're crazy at all. He said, if you want to do this, you can do it.
Wow.
And so then I was motivated even more to get myself back in shape. And I'm of the opinion of, I've never been one to be like, hey, if you do this for me, I'll do this for you. I've never been that kind of guy. I've always been like, this is what I bring to the table. So then I was super motivated to get back in the best shape of my life and then go back to whatever entity it was and say, I'm ready to go. If you hire me, this is what you get. Instead of, hey, if you hire me, I'll get back in shape in a couple months. You can't do that. That's not the right way to approach it.
Were you cleared when you had that unsanctioned match with Randy Orton? I was not.
And that's also one of the reasons.
But you took a punt.
Well, those, probably not the smartest thing to do, but there was ways around it at the time in the performance center.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. But I was not happy about that day because I felt that I could do more. And then when the ratings came in and it was the highest rated show in a long time, I was like, wow, people really thought I was going to wrestle and they were excited to see me wrestle.
Yeah.
And I feel like I kind of let them down.
Yeah.
So that was another thing that was in my head that is this how I want to go out? Do I really want that to be even though it was unsanctioned, do I want that to be the last memory people have of me being in the ring? Wasn't.
Also, that whole era of you return to the Rumble in 2021, you have this unsanctioned match, And the world was in a different spot at that point in time. But you're doing this in front of like screens of people. There's no actual crowd energy that you're able to feed off of.
You know, it was a little bit funny at that point in time when I came back for the Rumble, because you could see people on the TV screen. So in a strange way, and they filtered in noise, so it sounded like there was a crowd there. So that made it that part easier. And you could actually see people on the screens. It was strange. Was it strange? Yes, but you could see people, which was... And when I walked out, I could see people's faces on those screens react to me when I came out, and that was pretty cool.
There's nothing like hearing your entrance theme, like your theme.
Yeah,
it's a great entrance.
But
theme.
It's also like, you know, it's also one of those things where you're like, it's been a minute. Is anybody gonna even care? It's me, you know. And then that's just a performer mindset of like, is anybody gonna care? You know, that's kind of how you. That's for me anyway.
But with the reaction that you got returning to the Rumble in 2021. How was there not an offer from WWE to do something more full time?
Well, I think we were back and forth a little bit, and we never got as far as numbers or anything like that. I think it was more like scheduling stuff, like what I was willing to do, and I think we were trying to get some traction there. And you know, a friend of mine, Jon Moxley, called me, and we were talking, and when he found out that I wasn't signed. He was blown away by that, and he said, you should have a conversation with Tony Khan. And I was like, I don't know. And he said, you're actually an idiot if you don't. He said, you hold all the cards here. And he said, you have the ability to pick the stage where you finish your career. You should at least have a conversation, don't you think? I said, yep. And I said, if Tony wants to talk to me, I'd love to have a conversation with him. The next day was, it was that day. It was a Wednesday. So they were doing TV that day. And when their show was on, I got a text from Tony.
Wow.
Yeah. Saying, hey, how are you? I said, I'm great. How are you? And he said, should we talk? And I said, I think we should. And so he called me the next day, and we talked on the phone for almost 3 hours. And halfway through that call, I knew that AEW was the place for me. And not only that, but working for a guy like Tony Khan. And that's basically how it all came to fruition, was just from that one phone call. And then we talked one other time later in the week, and then that was it.
What was the timeline between you being in a WWE ring to you debuting in AEW? It's pretty close.
That was January. It was like a month and a bit, maybe.
Yeah,
less than a month and a half.
And it was hyped. There was a lot of hype.
Yep.
Behind your debut, and then Tony Khan says you're one of his favorite wrestlers of all time. So now the bar's set real high.
Yeah, yeah. And you know how wrestling fans are, right? Nothing's ever good enough. So, you know, when my name was announced, there were some people obviously that were, you know, thinking it was going to be somebody else. Maybe hoping it was going to be somebody else. There was a lot of people that were happy it was me too.
Of course.
But, you know, when you do something like that, that's not a surprise. When you hype something, you're giving people the opportunity to have an opinion.
Yeah.
And either good or bad, and they're going to voice that after, right? So,
but it wasn't just like, here's a big surprise or here's a big debut. It was, here's a big debut, and then they gave some qualifiers, right? He's a future Hall of Famer. Okay, right. Well, it's got to be one of these 2 or 3 or 4 people. Right. And I wasn't shocked that it was you, but I'm like, damn right. Of course.
Yeah. And like I said, you know, and you know, I heard all those things that were said after, and you know, that maybe it wasn't big enough for the hype and all those sorts of things. And you know, when we were doing these press conferences, after I took the TNT Championship, which was basically thrown on the scrap heap, and I revived that title to make it at one point, and I'll die on this hill, that it was as prestigious, if not more prestigious, than the world title when I had that run. And, you know, we're main eventing a pay-per-view, Wrestle Dream, with it. And we were sitting in the scrum after, and I had my opportunity to basically, and to say, you know, there was people, and there's probably a lot of people in this room that thought that the signing was overhyped, and I just wanted to make them eat their words.
How could anyone be upset about it? Like, nothing they said about that tease was untrue. Of course you're a future Hall of Famer.
Well, like I said, when you promote something, you give the people a chance to be let down. Sure. Either they're happy or let down.
Yeah.
So it's going to be either or. And it's if it was a surprise, if I just showed up out of the blue as a surprise, universally I probably would have been like, "Oh, this is amazing."
Yeah.
But when you, like I said, when you give people a choice, it changes things.
When you talk,
but I also understand why Tony did it, because he's a promoter and he wants to get people to tune in.
When you talk about ending your career on your terms, what does that look like for you?
Well, it means, like I said, getting it back and going as far as I could with it. And, we have, I'm not sure when this is going to air, but, coming up this coming weekend in Las Vegas, we have Double or Nothing. And I'm main eventing the pay-per-view. So I've gone from, being retired to now main eventing pay-per-views and arguably like doing 100% the best character work of my career. In ring, I feel like, maybe, obviously the body's a little bit more beat up than it used to be, but I feel like I'm smart enough to use my tools that I have to my advantage and, enhance other people's tools as well.
Do you think about how much longer you want to do this for?
I always said that I would do it till it wasn't fun. And that was my barometer on it. So how can I not be having fun right now?
So it's still fun right now?
It's still fun. It's still fun. Yep.
So do you have a timeline in your mind?
I have no timeline. I signed a contract. I think I have another 3 years left on this contract. So we'll get to the end of that and then see what happens. But, I feel like I have a lot of knowledge. I feel like I don't know everything, but I know a lot. And I feel like I think the business differently, and I lay out matches and I see matches differently than other people do. So I feel like I would like to, at some point, when the time is right, to obviously, give back to the business that has done what it's done for me.
It sounds like with a lot of what you're saying, like you feel like you've needed to prove yourself your whole career.
I've always felt like I need to prove myself.
Was that the reason you left WWE for TNA?
Yes.
Was there something specific that happened in WWE where you went, they're never going to see me as anything more than what I am right now?
Yeah, it was the stuff that I did with Cena. And then right after that, I did a little TV program with Batista. And we went over to the UK, and he was the biggest babyface star in the company. And I was supposed to be heel, and they booed him out of the building, and they cheered for me. And when that aired in the United States, you didn't hear any "We want Christian, Batista sucks" chants. Just put it that way. So after we came back, he said, "What are they doing with you, man?" He goes, they have to do something. And I was like, I don't know. And then after that, when we did that, and then the triple threat thing happened with myself and Cena and Jericho, when they inserted Chris into that to kind of, maybe because they didn't see me as a big enough star at the time to be able to carry that, so they added Chris in, that bothered me. And I was like, you're not even going to give me the chance to prove that I can do this? You're going to just add somebody else in here? So that was kind of me, the writing on the wall. I was like, nothing's going to change unless I change it myself.
Was it that they still saw you as a tag team competitor?
I don't know. I really don't know. And it's, there's all these rumors and stuff like that. I don't know. I can't put too much time or thought into that. It is what it is. I feel like everybody's path is different. Everything happens for a reason. Like, people had always compared myself and Edge, obviously, and we're always going to be compared to each other because we were of our tag team. But the reality is, we both had great careers if you separate them, like legendary careers, honestly.
Well, you going to TNA was so big at that time. Nobody else had really jumped ship, because this was before Kurt Angle. And I think a lot of people don't remember that.
No, it was well before Kurt. And, and for me, they were gracious enough to give me a platform. And people think that because I left TNA that I didn't enjoy my time in TNA. I did enjoy my time in TNA. I enjoyed it a lot. And I really enjoyed working for Dixie Carter. And it was just, I knew that it was to get me back to a higher level at some point. And, they did everything they could to keep me. Kudos to them. But I was 35 at the time, and it was either, if I don't go back now, I'm never going back. That's how I looked at it. And I felt like I just still had unfinished business. But like I said, I enjoyed my time in TNA. They gave me a platform, and they gave me every opportunity to work at the top of the card and give myself the confidence to prove to myself that I could do it.
So what do you think you did there in TNA that allowed WWE to see you with a fresh set of eyes?
I think a lot of it was me growing up. I had a lot of growing up to do. I was 24 when I started on the road with WWE, 8 years straight without a break. I just needed to I forgot what it was like to be myself almost sometimes, because you're on the go nonstop, like missing, family events, missing birthdays, anniversaries, family vacations, you're missing, family reunions, you're missing everything. So I needed to just be who I used to be for a little bit.
Yeah,
and then
it doesn't get talked about a lot with what you guys do for a living. That is the price you pay for being a professional wrestler.
I did a radio interview once, and the guy said to me, this is the best way I've ever heard anybody put it. He said to me, would you do what you do for free? And I said, I would, but don't tell anybody that. And he goes, so it's safe to say you get paid for the inconveniences in your life that your job presents.
That's so
like
good.
Travel, like being away from your family. I told him, that's the best way I've ever heard anybody describe it. We get paid for the inconvenience of what we do.
It's almost like the bribe of like, okay, so if you missed 3 birthdays this year and 2 dance recitals, we'll pay you X amount of dollars.
Yeah. Something like that.
Wow. Yeah, it's amazing how different your first run in WWE was versus when you came back and you were doing the work in ECW.
Yeah, like I said, I was a little bit older, a little more mature, in the ring and out. So, it was, I was just better equipped when I went back to handle that grind and all the things that come with it. And, but that was one of the things too, when I went back and I did the Rumble, it also made me realize that, well, maybe I wasn't equipped to do that anymore there. And that was another reason why I was so open to exploring AEW.
You never pinned anyone to become the world heavyweight champion. Think about it. You won the ladder match.
All right.
And then you beat Randy Orton by disqualification.
Well, but no one's ever done that though.
That's true.
So,
but never like a 1, 2, 3.
No, I guess not. I didn't even think about it till now. Thanks. Now I can put those with an asterisk. Great.
Still the champion though. Still the champion.
Yeah.
Where did this come from?
It happened by accident. Like I just came out and it was actually right after I started the thing where I started talking about the peeps.
Yeah.
And I came out on the ramp and I looked up and there was a whole row and they all had Christian's peeps written out and they each had one letter of it, but it was all the way across a row. So I just put my hand up to let them know that I saw the whole thing. And then it just kind of went from there. But I also used to talk a lot when I came out. Like I'd always be gabbing and talking, blah, blah, blah. And somebody asked me, what do you say? And I'm like, I honestly have no clue. I just start talking when I come out and it's just rambling. Like I really don't know what I say. So
are they actual sentences?
Yeah, they are, but they could be anything, And it's like, so. Yeah.
Johnny Gargano does this now.
Yeah.
Did you have any sort of discussion with him?
No, I didn't. But I know that he was a fan, so he can have it. That's all it is.
I've always loved your finisher. I loved when it was called the Unprettier because it is very much something you drop someone on their face.
Yeah.
They're not pretty anymore.
Yeah.
How'd you come up with the Unprettier / kill switch?
So I came up with it at the time. I'm a student of the game, and I when I was coming up, I'd watch a lot of tapes from different wrestling promotions, and I was watching a Japanese, I believe it was an All Japan tape, and Tommy Rogers was on there, and he did the Tamikaze. And he just did it. He didn't use it as a finish. He just did it as like a spot in a match. And I was like, But the way that he grabbed the guy from behind and turned him was intriguing to me. I couldn't figure out how he did that. And I watched it over and over and over again. It was a time of VCR, so I had to do the old push the buttons to frame by frame it. And when I saw how he turned him, but then he would always run 2 or 3 steps, kind of jump in the air and do it. When I slowed down the turn, and when it stopped in this position where the guy's arms are over your shoulder, it was stopped. It just happened to stop in that position. And I was looking at it and I thought to myself, if the bottom just fell out right there, it becomes like a pile driver and looks super devastating and can be super devastating. And it's something that I can do to anybody, no matter what size they are. So that's where I kind of adopted it. And I honed it a little bit in a gym with just me and a couple friends. And I didn't use it anywhere on any indie for probably 3 years. I never used it in a match. I didn't use it until the first time I used it in WWE because I didn't want somebody else to steal it.
Wow.
That's how much I cared about that move and how much I wanted it to be my finish. And plus somebody else had once stolen my finish. So that was...
What was it?
Mark Marrow stole my TKO. So a funny story. Yeah, we were training. He was training to come back from an injury, and I was training at Bret Hart's place in Calgary. And when we were training, I did a version of the diamond cutter where I would scoop the guy up on my shoulders, but I would spin him off and hit a cutter out of the air.
Yeah.
So I did it in the match, and Mark was sitting on the floor watching. He said, "Hey, can you do that again?" So I did it again. And then he said to me, he goes, "Hey, man, you want to grab a bite to eat?" And I was like, "Sure." So we grabbed a bite to eat, and then we were just talking about some Japanese wrestling and some different stuff. And then he said, "Hey, I'm going back in about a month." I said, "Okay, cool." And he goes, "Would you mind if I use that finish?" And I went, and then I was like, "This is a guy that's already signed.
Yeah, so
guy
he's
that's
in
already
WCW
there."
at the time,
No, he's
right?
in WWE.
Oh, WWE at the time. Okay.
This is when he was coming back with the boxer gimmick, with the shorts and the jacket and the whole deal. And so I was like, "What are you supposed to say? This he's where I want to be."
Yeah.
And so I was like, "Yeah, I'll think of something else. Go ahead, use it, take it." So he was nice enough to buy me dinner, but he
that's all it costs.
Yeah, but like I said, everything happens for a reason. This finish suits me much more. So,
and it's also, you always hear people talk about how find a finisher that you can do on anybody, that you can do on someone who's small or someone who's as big as Paul White.
Yep.
And you're right, you couldn't do the TKO on someone like Paul White or Brock Lesnar or someone.
Nope. So that was an important aspect of it. Yeah.
He stole it from you.
He stole it from me.
I can't believe that.
That's all right.
So I was at WrestleMania 18. I always like to tell this story. I was 18 at WrestleMania 18. You worked on WrestleMania 18. What was it like being able to work in your hometown?
It was cool. It was nice. It's always hard at home because there's always a lot of friends and family. And it's great, but it's also difficult because you're trying to get in the right headspace, but you also have people calling you, texting you nonstop, thinking they're the only person that called you, text you.
Orangeville, is that your hometown?
Orangeville, yeah.
But you grew up in Kitchener?
No, I was born in Kitchener. Born in Kitchener.
I went to Laurier.
Did you? Well,
yeah.
Nice.
So Orangeville's what, maybe 45 minutes, an hour from Toronto?
Yeah.
About that?
Yeah, it depends on traffic.
Well, it could be 2 hours.
Yeah. So, I've been down there in 45 minutes, and last time I was up there, I visited my dad, and then I drove downtown. This was before the match with Adam, actually, in March, and it took me over 2 hours to drive downtown because of traffic. It was bad. So,
what did it mean to be there in Toronto, WrestleMania 18, it's your hometown, and you're working a legend? You work DDP.
Yeah. No, it was anytime you get on the big show, WrestleMania, it was it's important because you work all year for that. And, we managed to start a story that had a little bit of legs and people seemed to kind of grab onto and enjoy at the time. And, we kind of needed each other at the time too, because Dallas was having a hard time adjusting to WWE and the style and those sorts of things. And so sometimes when you get into your head like that, you overthink things. And I think that's where he was at, and he'd probably tell you the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked a lot about how, with him, how WCW guys just didn't get a fair chance.
Yeah. So, and they had a way. So then, I remember, he and I were put together, and we just had I guess a trust right off the bat. And I think he realized that my mindset is always to do what's best for the match and the show. And, that's what I did. So he trusted me, and from that we had an amazing series of matches, and he got his confidence back, and we were off to the races.
Wow. Do you remember being backstage or watching the monitor when there was that moment at the start of the Rock Hogan match?
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember. I remember walking out and kind of watching it from the side of the stage, because you need to feel those moments. To me, you need to feel the energy. And you don't quite get the same feel if you're watching on a monitor. So a lot of times for those big moments, I'll walk out, I'll find a space to walk out and watch it in person so I can feel the energy.
Yeah.
And it was unlike anything. I still haven't felt anything like that.
So you mentioned it there, but let's talk about that match that you had with Adam in Toronto. It's called the Scotiabank Arena now, right?
Yeah.
I just know it as the ACC.
It was, to me, that was the perfect venue for it. It's the other arena. It's where the Leafs play. Was it Scotiabank Center?
Yes, Scotiabank Arena. I believe. Okay, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. The other one used to be Ricoh Coliseum, but
yes.
now it's Pepsi or Coke. I have no.
I haven't been there.
It's changed, but it's. But
it'll always be Ricoh to me.
Always be Ricoh to me.
Always be Sky Dome to me.
Yeah, but the other one, it's great and all that, but it's so big, and it's this one was just, it's more intimate. It feels like everybody is right on top of you. It's a little bit grittier of a building. It's a little bit dirtier of a building. It just has more character.
It worked perfectly for the type of match you had.
Right. And it just, to me, it was the right venue for that match.
The hockey style fight.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. My skin's still itching from putting on a Bruins jersey. But, you got to do what you got to do.
I mean, the Leafs, that's...
Don't get me started.
To me neither. Haven't won the Stanley Cup since there were 5 other teams in the league.
Yeah, right.
Jeez.
Yeah. Well, been breaking my heart for 50 years, so why stop now?
It's hard being a Leafs fan.
Yeah. Yep, that's for sure.
It is hard being a Leafs fan. How much input, how much say, how much were you able to sway Adam to come over to AEW?
I didn't have to sway him at all.
Because I know that, I chatted with him recently when he was on the show. He had both contracts in front of him. Mm-hmm. He had an opportunity to stay with WWE or to go with AEW.
For me, I don't interfere in people's, and if I'm asked for an opinion, I'll give an opinion, but I won't give it in a way that would sway. At the end of the day, when you're talking about something like that, when it's somebody's livelihood in their life, and they have I know everybody thinks about it in different ways, but I know he has a way that he thinks about his legacy and all those sorts of things. I don't want to interfere with that. And you make people that make their own decisions what's best for them and their family, but you can just give them the tools they need to make the right decision for them. And that's what I try to do.
And now you get to hang out with your best friend all the time. Former best friend.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
We don't, he's obviously, like I said, it's, the good thing is with him coming, everybody realizes that I'm levels above him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's, it's too bad what happened to your friendship. You guys were close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now he can't beat me in the ring and he can't beat me on the plank board. So.
Is that right?
Yeah. Maybe the next time it'll be a plank match.
That'd be definitely interesting.
Yeah. I don't think there'd be any boring chance at all during that one.
Just 2 guys doing planks
yeah.
in the middle of the ring. Do you feel like with the work you do in the ring now, you have any residual effects from the concussions you had?
Nope.
That's amazing.
Nope. And I think in a weird way, those 7 years gave me enough time to fully heal the right way. So in that respect, I'm glad that I had those years, because if I'd maybe just taken a year, maybe even 2, it might not have been enough. And, but yeah, knock on wood, I haven't had any issues at all. And, I continue to get tested regularly and keep passing tests with flying colors. So
during the time you were retired, how long did it take you to come to terms with, I guess this is my life now?
Yeah. Not long, I don't want to feel sorry for myself. I just was kind of like, okay, well, what's the next challenge here? What are we looking at? And like I said, I'm the type of person that needs something to work towards, or else, it's a box of Cheez-Its on the couch every night. So I need something like that. I need something to go after. I need a goal. That's just how I'm wired. So that's kind of how it was.
And what was it? What was that goal? What were you driving towards during those 7 years?
I was just trying to carve out I was ultimately trying to carve out kind of much like what you're doing. I was trying to get on and be host. I did enjoy acting, and I did a little bit of acting. And I still enjoy acting. It's a lot of fun, and I feel like I'm good at it. But I also wanted to do other things. I didn't want to just I wanted to have a bunch of branches on the same tree, so to speak. So I was trying to do like you saw on the backstage, doing analyst work, on the pay-per-view pre-show panels, doing analyst work. Did the podcast. So I was just trying to do different things like that, just trying to broaden my horizons. I was doing a little bit of acting still. And things like that. And then, like I said, not long after it all, and within a couple of years, because of the pandemic, all just kind of went away.
Do you remember the original pitch that was presented to you for the first ever TLC match?
First ever TLC, it was kind of, I don't really recall the pitch, but I do recall the interesting, obviously the initials, right? And that's where it came from. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's a good hook for this match to make it even feel bigger. And it was also a way to morph out of just doing ladder matches and, adding, making the stakes of a ladder match feel bigger as well.
It's just so brilliant. And I think a lot of fans may not put it together now, almost 25 years later. It's T, tables for the Dudleys.
Yep.
L, ladders for the Hardys. And C, chairs for Edge and Christian. And that's what you guys were known for.
Yep.
Throw it all together into a match. And there's no bar, right?
Right.
You guys can do whatever you want with it.
Yep.
And the first one is fantastic, but I'm sure you've heard this 1,000 times. That second one it's legendary.
Yeah. Yeah. And the more you do them too, you understand how to get more mileage out of them and how to tell the story within that match better, because it can become a car crash. And you can't ever lose sight of the goal. The goal is to retrieve whatever it is above the ring. And a lot of people, they forget that, and they're just doing all sorts of other things, taking themselves out of the match and out of position when the prize is right above you. So no matter what you're doing in the match, that should be your focus at all times. Everything else is hindering you from getting there, but that should always be your goal, to go up. So any chance you have an opportunity to go up, you go up.
For Edge, the moment everyone always points to is the spear off the ladder to Jeff Hardy. What's the moment for you that you always come back to from those matches?
It was honestly, it was the very first ladder match that kind of put us all on the map, so to speak, with Matt and Jeff at was it Fully Loaded? Was that the?
I think so.
Whatever the pay-per-view was in Cleveland. I don't think it was Fully Loaded.
Here, we have all the world's information.
Yeah,
here.
right there. Google
Let's see what we can come up with.
I remember doing that, and I remember not knowing how the match was going to be received, because we hadn't seen a tag team ladder match before, on that stage anyway. And when I came back for the curtain, everybody received a standing ovation from our peers. And like,
No Mercy 99.
No Mercy, that was it. I don't know why I had a brain fart there, but
I mean, look how much you've wrestled. Come on.
I remember coming back, and when your peers and everybody backstage from every department is basically standing there giving you a standing ovation, you're like, wow, okay, I think we just did something special.
Was there a certain moment in that match that you're especially proud of?
In that particular match?
Yeah. Or I guess any of the ladder matches or TLC matches.
Yeah, I guess the fact that we were even able to pull it off, because Adam was living in the Bahamas at the time and was stuck in a hurricane storm flying, and he got delayed somehow into Miami, and he had to drive from Miami to like Tampa. There was like some concern he was even going to make the show. So we were all three of us were there the day before, working on things, and he literally showed up a few hours before the show started, and this was the first ever tag team ladder match. So it could have went off the rails and gone the opposite way, but instead we grabbed lightning in a bottle that night, and it changed everything for all of us.
Yeah, it changed your lives. And it's crazy. Here we are 25 years later.
Yep.
And it's still a thing people are always talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be at signings or something, and I'll have like a little kid come up to me talking to me about the TLC matches and ladder matches. I'm like, I know you weren't born yet when that happened. My dad showed it to me, or my parents sat down and they wanted me to see this match.
Wow.
So parents are sitting their children down to watch these matches. That means we did something that will stand the test of time.
What's the biggest difference for you between Christian and Christian Cage?
Well, that's the thing too. People talk about Christian and WWE and this versus that. They're completely separate entities in my mind. Christian Cage has never been in WWE. Christian has, but Christian isn't Christian Cage. And Christian, quite honestly, doesn't hold a candle to Christian Cage. It's not even close.
What makes Christian Cage so much better?
Because Christian Cage can just be who he wants to be, without any constraints, without any politics, without anybody telling me, say this, don't say that, do this, don't do that. It's me being me. Either you make it work or you fail. Either way, it's on my own. You're making it work. So I don't think there's been anything in this run that hasn't worked for you. Well, it's like I said, I try to challenge myself every week, and like I said, it was a gift to get this back, and it wasn't just enough. Like I said earlier, now I might even be repeating myself. That's fine, but I'm taking this as far as I can take it. Yeah, it's amazing. It's been so great to be able to spend some time with you here. And again, Pure Plank is incredible. The code CVV, if people want to save some money on that. Mm-hmm. It's helped my workouts a ton. Yep. And I mean, look at the shape that you're in as a result. I think too, more than anything, the feedback that we've gotten from, we sold out our first shipment is sold out, so we're on back order. But we start shipping again June 1st, which is great. We weren't anticipating that, but it's people like it and they're enjoying it, and that was the goal: is to give people a piece of equipment that will actually help them, that actually works. And if I'm going to put my name to something, and I know Adam feels the same way, that's how it has to be. It has to be legit, has to work, has to help people, or else I'm not interested.
And it does all those things. Gratitude's a driving force in my life. I wake up every day, I say out loud 3 things I'm grateful for. It's something I do before I go to bed, and it's how I wrap up every episode. So what are 3 things in your life that you're grateful for as we sit here right now?
Me, myself, and I. Is what Christian Cage would say.
That's the perfect response. Thank you again, sir. Appreciate you.